certain things that I want to say. I don't want to try to make Living Color say them for me.
Four black men walked into a rock scene that barely saw them coming and turned it upside down. Living Color didn't just make music, they made a statement. With explosive hits like Cult of Personality and Glamour Boys, they broke down racial walls and forced rock to face its own limits. But behind the amps were battles, pushback from all sides, inner tensions, and the fight to stay true. From Grammy wins to messy breakups and epic comebacks, their journey is pure fire. So stay glued to your screen because the Living Color journey is nothing short of legendary.
Band to win a Grammy Awards in the hard rock category, Vernon Reid was a man that made it happen. I am such a music.
Before Living Color blew up the rock scene, Vernon Reid, that super talented British-born guitarist, was already doing his thing in the New York music world. We're talking way back in '84, when he pulled together a mix of vibes and started what would eventually become Living Color. Now, don't let the spelling fool you. He kept that U in color because, well, he's from the UK, and that's just how they roll. From '84 to '86, he played around with a few versions of the group, calling it Vernon Reid's Living Color, switching up members and styles like it was a mixtape. Reid wasn't just some random dude on guitar either. He was already popping on the downtown jazz circuit thanks to his time with Ronald Shannon Jackson's group. Real respected stuff. He worked with all kinds of artists during this time. Bassists like Alex Mosley, Jerome Harris, and Carl James, and drummers like Greg Carter and J.T. Lewis. There were even keyboardists and different vocalists jumping in and out, and sometimes Vernon himself hopped on the mic. But their music back then, totally different from what you'd hear on the radio later. It was this wild mix of jazzy funk, raw punk energy, guitar experiments, and early tracks like Funny Vibe before it got its glow up on their big debut. But as celebrated, something was about to be a huge problem for them. At the time, you felt like they already got people's attention. They ended up fighting through a music game that just wasn't built for them: racism. And by 1985, Vernon Reid wasn't having it. He started the Black Rock Coalition to call out the crazy idea that black musicians couldn't rock just as hard as anybody else. Labels looked at them sideways, saying they didn't fit into R&B and weren't quite right for rock either, all because of the color of their skin. Moving on, Living Color finally locked in a solid crew that just clicked in 1986. Corey Glover, who was part actor and part powerhouse vocalist, jumped in alongside the guitar genius Vernon Reid. Then you had Muzz Skillings laying it down on bass and Will Calhoun killing it on drums. Oh, and Will wasn't just any drummer. He was a Berklee College of Music honors grad, so you already know he had serious skills. With new managers Jim Grant and Roger Kramer on board, they also brought in Andy Elias, a young lighting whiz, to make their stage shows explode with energy and visuals. They started making noise at CBGB, that gritty New York club where legends are born. Then, out of nowhere, boom, Mick Jagger steps in. Vernon had auditioned for Jagger's Primitive Cool album, and after seeing the band live, Jagger loved what he saw. He even produced a couple of their demo tracks, and just like that, major labels started circling. Epic Records finally signed them, but Vernon later said it felt wild.
You present like a cue to the director and the producer. You don't know how they're going to react, if they're going to go.
That it took a rock god like Mick to get them noticed. Their debut album Vivid dropped in '88, but it really blew up when MTV started spinning Cult of Personality.
Inspire the imagination in a positive way, or, stoke up the fires of nationalism in a negative way.
And if you're wondering what happened, just sit tight for the real gist. Unfortunately for the band, when the Vivid album got out, the cold shoulder continued. MTV played hard to get, barely spinning their videos, claiming so-called research said the audience wouldn't be into it. But truth is, they just weren't ready to see a black band dominate rock. Even though Vivid had all the heat, it took almost 6 months to finally break into the Billboard Top 20 by February 1989, and it wasn't due to lack of talent. Radio stations and record execs just weren't pushing them like they deserved. Corey Glover later said BET didn't even show love back then because the band didn't fit their black music mold. Meanwhile, rock media tried to act like rock was strictly white territory, forgetting the whole thing was built on black roots from day one. Despite everything, the album charted high. They hit SNL, opened for the Rolling Stones, and by the time Time's Up came out, they were fusing everything from hip-hop to metal. And yeah, they even snagged a Grammy.
Also that, right? Rock and rolls, you're the one on stage, larger than life.
The guys
big
with charisma.
beats.
To tell you how chaotic things got for Living Colour at that time, they literally had to fight hard just to be themselves. And things really popped off in October 1989 when they were doing shows with Guns N' Roses and the Rolling Stones at the LA Coliseum.
Also being on a bill with Guns N' Roses, because I think here in LA, they're doing this with you all, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right before the concert on October 19th, Vernon Reid and Will Calhoun called out Axl Rose in a radio interview for dropping some wild racist and homophobic lyrics in his song One in a Million. Axl clearly didn't take it well because the next night he stormed backstage and came at Muzz Skillings thinking he was Vernon just because of the dreadlocks. Axl hit him with a heated, "You got a problem with me, man?" and tried to defend his mess, but he only made it worse when he used those same slurs on stage again like he had something to prove. The very next night, October 20, Vernon Reid wasn't having it. Mid-performance, he stopped the music and went off, calling out folks who use slurs while pretending to respect black people.
And there was always that issue, like when we would walk into places and come up against people like, "What kind of band are you?"
He made it loud and clear. And before this, we already know Vernon had already started the Black Rock Coalition just to keep the industry from boxing them into R&B or rap.
You see what you look at us and you say what kind of band it is. And we get everything but a rock band.
By the time 92 hit, things were shifting. Muzz Skillings dipped out and Doug Wimbish stepped in on bass. With the fresh lineup, they dropped Stain in March 93. It landed at 26 on the charts, but the buzz wasn't hitting like before. Even though fans were still locked in, something behind the scenes felt off. By early 95, they decided to split, not over drama, just couldn't agree on the direction anymore. They'd already started cooking a fourth album, but most of it stayed shelved. A few tracks landed on the Pride compilation. Still, the guys didn't vanish into the thin air. Vernon Reid went full solo by 96, dropped Mistaken Identity, started Mask, and experimented with the Yohimbe brothers. He also started producing heat for jazz and blues artists. Corey Glover switched lanes, acted in Loose Women, became a VH1 VJ, dropped an R&B album Hymns, then circled back to rock with Ultraphonics and Disciples of Verity. Doug Wimbish and Will Calhoun stuck tight, formed Jungle Funk in 97 and kept pushing creative sounds. Doug dropped trippy notes for bass in 99, while Will got deep into jazz. Then, out of nowhere in 2000, boom, they reunited on stage at CBGB for a surprise gig under the name Headfake. Just like that, Living Colour was back. That was Calhoun and Wimbish's other project. But by the third song, Vernon was back on stage, and Corey was already there. The vibe was right, so they made it official again and dropped Kaleidoscope in 2003. So, in late 2006, Living Colour hit the road again, kicking off a one-week European tour starting December 12. Not long after, they dropped their very first live DVD, on stage at World Cafe Live in May 2007. Then, in July 2008, they brought the fire to the Rocklahoma Festival out in Oklahoma, throwing it back with those 80s hard rock vibes.
We're going to have to deal with that, but we're not going to change our act or change our vibe just to suit an audience. You know, we were on the tour because we're who we are.
August that same year, fans got a real treat. Skillings jumped back in for a tribute to the Band of Gypsies in Harlem, where they absolutely nailed Them Changes and Power of Soul. It was magic. Then in October, MVD Audio teamed up with CBGB Records to drop a soundboard recordal from their 2005 Save CBGB show, and the next month, a live DVD called The Paris Concert came out, filmed during their 2007 Euro tour. The big move came in 2009 when they finally released their fifth studio album, The Chair in the Doorway. It didn't blow up, but it hit number 161 on Billboard and sold about 2,800 copies that first week. Still, it was their first chart entry since Stain, so definitely a moment. They toured worldwide off that momentum. In 2013, they pulled up live at WrestleMania 29, performing Cult of Personality for CM Punk's epic entrance. Fast forward to 2014, they teased their next project, Shade, which finally dropped in 2017, featuring 10 new tracks and covers of legends like Robert Johnson, Biggie, and Marvin Gaye. Before that, in 2016, they gave fans a sneak peek with a Biggie cover featuring rap royalty like Chuck D and Black Thought. By 2018, they were cooking up more heat for a possible 7th album. And in 2022, they rocked the stage at Rock in Rio, bringing out guitar god Steve Vai. Then in 2023, they hit the road again with Extreme, and in 2025, they lit up WrestleMania 41 with another CM Punk collab, this time for the main event. Aside from tearing up stages, the Living Colour crew has been investing in other parts of life, keeping the music close but also chasing personal peace and new passions. Vernon Reid, the genius on the guitar, didn't just stay in his lane. He's been married to Grubby Krista, an artist in her own right, and they've kept it grown and graceful, totally under the radar. No buzz about kids, but Vernon's clearly been booked and busy, juggling solo projects, producing for others, and leading his experimental bands like Mosque and Yohimbe Brothers. Between gigs and scores, the man's estimated to be worth a smooth $5 million. As for Corey Glover, he's got his wife and their daughter Indigo, maybe more, but he's kept that part quiet. Still, his voice hasn't aged a bit, and he's still out there rocking stages. His pockets, about the same range as Vernon. Doug Wimbish and Will Calhoun stayed tight, pushing out creative collabs like Jungle Funk and Jazz Records. They keep their families private, but best believe they're still stacking behind the scenes and on stage. Muzz Skillings, real low-key, no drama, still jamming in his own lane. Living Colour didn't just shake up the rock world with their bold sound, they walked away with real wins too. At the time of their prime, they snatched a Grammy in 1990 for that fire track Cult of Personality, which didn't just slap hard, it made history by giving rock a whole new look. Then, just a year later, they grabbed another Grammy for Time's Up, proving they weren't some one-hit hype. That same energy spilled over into the MTV scene, where Cult of Personality earned them Best New Artist in a Video in 1989. Major, especially at a time when MTV wasn't showing much love to Black rockers. And the fans? They were right there with them. Rolling Stone readers voted them Best New American Band that same year. These days, the band's not slowing down. They're out on their Time's Up 35th anniversary tour, lighting up stages across Europe and gearing up for big festivals like Sleepy Hollow. And they're cooking up a new album too, hoping to drop it anytime in 2025. Corey said they're taking their time to get it right. Oh, and they just performed Cult of Personality live at WrestleMania 41 for CM Punk's entrance. So yeah, they're still out here making noise and rewriting the game like never before.